Second press. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtai Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swanti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachaline Nivasisha Sunyavari Pushtatara Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So I was just looking just before getting a recap on the different chapters that we have gone through already. We're on part 4. Just at the end of part 4. The book consists of 8 parts. We've covered quite a bit. Probably like myself, you might have forgotten most of what we covered at the beginning. We should go over it again. But now we're on part 4, is types and examples of Sankalpas. And we're beginning a new chapter today, the last chapter in this part. So it's chapter 18. It's on page 329, and it's called Making a Sankalpa. So now we're going to get your pen and pencils out. There's some practical advice of what it means to actually make a Sankalpa, different types of Sankalpas. Okay. So the melodic is coming. Okay, anyone like to kick off with the reading today?
I can read.
Go ahead. Can read a couple of pages, then let's take it as it goes. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Chapter 18, Making a Sankalpa. Until now, we have given examples of determinations, as well as 5 classifications in which they fall based on their relevance to aesthetic devotion. This chapter concludes part 4 of Sankalpa Kaumudi with some practical guidelines for making vows. These guidelines shall include the following: knowing where we are and where we are going, acquiring qualification, which means knowledge, purity, blessings, and guidance, formulating the Sankalpa, the incremental vows needed for final attainment, patience, awakening willpower, determination, the lifestyle corresponding to Sankalpas, and conviction of success. Readers are reminded that attaining bhav is not a one-step process, but a process that requires multiple sankalpas. Although we will restrict our study to the constituents of any one determination, the principles derived thereof are applicable to the multiple determination a devotee will make during his sadhana. Let us start at the beginning, and the beginning is to know, as mentioned above, on what stage of devotion a sadhaka is situated and to what stage of devotion he is heading. The later will be easier to answer, as it is clear from the definition of sadhana bhakti, repeatedly cited. When transcendental devotional service, by which love for Krishna is attained, is executed by the senses, it is called sadhana bhakti, or the regulative discharge of devotional service. Such devotion eternally exists within the heart of every living entity. The awakening of this eternal devotion is the potentiality of devotional service in practice. Thus, an aware practitioner is heading to a goal of bhava bhakti. However, the urgent question from readers may be, but how do we assess on what stage of devotion we are currently situated? To know whether a practitioner is beginner or intermediate, and which subdivision of either the sadhaka should inquire from his spiritual master or an assembly of senior devotees. An example of how this is done is found in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma, wherein a young devotee named Nityananda Das approached an assembly of senior Vaishnavas and asked the leader, what kind of Vaishnava am I? Am I a neophyte or an intermediate Vaishnava? Because I know that I am certainly not an advanced Vaishnava. In order to give a worthy reply, the leader, Haridas Babaji, asked Nityananda Das to disclose his spiritual motivation and practices. After hearing the young devotee story, the Vaishnavas confirmed and informed Nityananda, you have left the neophyte stage and become an intermediate devotee. In other words, Nityananda Das was on the first stage of Nishtha. He was a Kanishta Nishtha. To read the full narration of how Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes the process
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, readers may consult Appendix 4 of this book. To clearly discern one's spiritual standing by oneself is difficult and most likely defective. Self-assessment does not work. How can one lost in the forest of material existence know his own location? The path recommended by Acharyas is that a neophyte or intermediate devotee take shelter of advanced Vaishnavas, as was exemplified by Nityananda Das.
Okay, let's just pause there, huh? For any
yes
questions or comments. Yes.
I can think of like okay, you know, like whatever you're feeling or going through, we keep saying, oh, it's personal, it's confidential, you shouldn't like speak out. So then how can you speak out to Vaishnavas what you're feeling, what you're going, without making it sound, oh, I'm doing good or I'm not doing good or whatever, you know?
Well, you have to be discriminating of what it is that you actually want to reveal, and with who. If it's going to be like it's going to be subjects which is to do with your internal practice or your development as a senior person, then you're basically going to reveal that in inquiring way to senior devotees. So I don't know if I'm answering you, if I grasp your question, but yeah. And here it's interesting that probably I don't think many of us have probably actually asked this to our spiritual masters. You know, the question like, what kind of devotee am I, Guru Maharaj or Maharaj? Am I a neophyte or am I a madhyam? Because I know I'm certainly not an advanced Vaishnava. So just keep that in mind. That's a nice, you may not ask it in exactly those words, but that mood and when you associate with senior devotees. And of course, these senior devotees are going to want to help those who like know you, who have some type of relationship. They're obviously going to be able to better answer that question. But just that mood of inquiry from senior devotees. Yeah. Please, you tell me, Maharaj, of what is my position. I don't know if that answered your question, Baba Chandravali. I kind of tied it in.
Yeah. I was thinking that way anyway. Yeah.
But it is important to have, for instance, there's some things we're going through. Maybe some things are weighing on our mind, weighing on our heart. So it's always good to have people who you can speak to in spiritual life. Especially we should have peers, we should have friends, person who we can say things to that we wouldn't say to juniors. Like I've got devotees who I speak about my griefs and anxieties, and they're friends. I don't share that with junior devotees. And then I've got other types of questions which I'll ask to, like in the weekend I was with Keshav Maharaj, so type of questions I will ask him. Well, I found it very helpful. I mean, I'm sure you all do have, you've got friends. This is what I've got, devotee friends. So sometimes it's good not to carry things in your heart, especially if they're negative things. It's good to have someone who's confidential, a friend who's confidential, and he knows, is wise as well. They can give you advice on that, on another way of looking at the specific thing you're going through. That's a very important point in spiritual life. This is part of sadhu sangha, to reveal a nectar of instruction, isn't it? Describes to reveal one's mind in confidence.
Confidence, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss that when we used to have retreats once a year, and you could personally talk to
Yes,
Bhakti Charan.
you must be missing
And
that.
I really
Imagine,
miss it, because then that was, you
yeah.
could tell him things, and
Yeah, so pray and look for that type of association.
Because they know you year after year after year, so they know how you're going,
Yeah, that's a great loss. I mean, that is one. Yes, a great loss when these Vaishnavas leave. These great Vaishnavas leave the world, and that will always be the case, unfortunately. So we can pray to Krishna, depend on Krishna to send you to have that type of relationship. But here, Maharaj is bringing up the point of understanding where we are. So we're just speaking about the culture of that and how that is done. And we're not always the best to make that, or we're not the best ones to decide of where we are. We tend to probably put ourselves a bit higher than what we actually are. So,
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Nimai Mata, Hare Krishna.
I thought I would just share something. Vaishnava K, this book is a very good book. I felt myself reading. It really explains.
Is that the book by Jayapataka Maharaj you said?
It is Bhakti Vinod Thakur's translation.
Okay,
Yeah.
Dharma. Yeah, it's really good.
Not Jaiva Dharma Mataji. It is Vaishnava K.
Yeah,
That
what type of Vaishnava are you? Very good.
What type of a Vaishnava you are. Like most of my questions being answered in that book.
Oh, yeah, very nice. So this book is all ascertaining what type of devotee we are. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've never read that book before.
Go wrong and corrections and everything. You can make you can understand you better in that book very well.
Okay, thank you for. Perhaps you could send it, put on the chat the actual name of the book, so devotees can see it.
Now put in the group, Prabhu. I will do it in the group.
Yeah. Also, the study that we're doing, or we have done, of Sudha Bhakti Chintamani, is
Also, Prabhu,
also helping us to understand where we are at.
Oh, being in the female body, even to approach Maharaj, I think sometimes it is a really disadvantage in the female body.
No, it's not. You can still approach. You can still approach. Why not?
Not not all the time very practical to any. It is a very big disadvantage. What I see as.
I guess, yeah, I can understand. I guess you must be right. For instance, when we have a Maharaj, sometimes like Mahavishnu Maharaj, he stays in the ashram. He stays. So, sometimes, we're brushing our teeth together in the bathroom. And of course, that's not the place to ask questions, actually.
Yeah, but still.
I understand your point. But still, I don't think you're bereft of the opportunity. I mean, it's there. I think we spoke a couple of weeks ago. Jamavati brought up, we suggested that you, as a group, you could arrange that you have a questions and answers session with senior devotees, your little group. Things you can do that. Perhaps you have to be a bit proactive about it. But yeah, Vaishnava Association is very rare to get. So we have to work at it a bit. We have to kind of pray for it and look for it. I mean, we're associating together now, so that's one level of association. But to ask personal questions, I must admit that was probably really difficult when, for instance, Bhakti True Swami Maharaj, Krishna took him back to the spiritual world.
I was listening to the class about being on the state of Nistha, And in the class, like was explained that if you are sleeping in the Bhagavatam class, and when you chanting, you're not so steady and this, and so
Yeah.
you're not. Yeah, it's
That's called, yeah, that's in Madhurya Kadambini. That's,
yeah.
yeah. It's very nicely described there. Yeah, it's a small, we mentioned that book many times as well. Yeah, if one is falling asleep in class, actually, it's sometimes we make light of it and we make it into a joke, but actually it's serious. It's an offense, especially if it's okay. If it's once in a while, it's okay, but if one is habituated, like yesterday, we was having a brahmacharya class with Kesha Bharati Maharaj. Kesha Bharati Maharaj does not tolerate anyone falling asleep. You know, he stops he never ever lets anyone fall asleep when he's speaking. He stops the class and makes an issue of it, you know, he tells them a nice way, but he tells them quite firmly, you know, stand up. You know, he's actually stopped speaking and he stares at them.
I can understand where it's coming. It's very disrespectful. You know, just imagine somebody takes so much effort to prepare. They're there, sitting there in front. For me, any minimum 6 hours of preparation for 1 hour of class. Minimum 6 hours.
Yeah, so you have that experience because Sadami, you give classes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then you prepare for classes. I had that experience when you give class and there's 5 people sleeping.
And I think I find it even sitting and not listening is very disrespectful for that person who's there, because they see they're so humble and tolerant that they don't say anything out of it. But it's actually from the other side, it's very disrespectful personally.
Yeah, it is. I mean, myself, from my experience, when I see devotees not, you know, when they're on their, you know, they're on their phone and three of them are sleeping, 3 of them are looking at the phone, then I don't feel inspired.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Not much comes out. But if I've got devotees wide-eyed looking, of course, it very much depends on us as well. It depends on their presentation, but it depends on both the listeners and the speakers. Yeah.
I remember very long time ago, Jayadevt Maharaj, very, very long time ago.
Who? Oh, Jayadevt Swami Maharaj.
Jayadevt Maharaj, he's not like now, I believe, very, very strict. Even a child just say, he will stop the class.
Yeah.
Like just child, a small, like that noise, he will stop the class.
Yeah, yeah. That's how it.
He will keep staring at the mother until mother goes out with the child.
Yeah, I have that challenge, especially more so with Bhagavad Gita class, when an Indian family come in as a child running left, running right, running forward. You know, you have to be like a yogi to maintain concentration. Very difficult. But yeah, I was just also my Guru Maharaj as well. He's very strict as well. He doesn't allow if he sees anyone sleeping in class, you know, they really they really get it. So should I say he doesn't tolerate him. Anyway, Hare Krishna, different subject, but still it's connected. How's it connected? Sleeping. Well, how do we connect? Paying attention. That was it. Unsteady devotional service. Anishta Bhakti, Chandravali was reminding us of. She listened to a lecture on that. I was quoting from Madhurya Kadambini. So where are we in Vaishnav K? Where are we in devotion? Anything else on that? Otherwise, let's see what secrets are going to be revealed about actually making sankalpas. So this is first one to understand where we are. I guess it's obvious. I mean, if you're not following the 4 regulative principles, or if you're only following 3 regulative principles, then it's quite obvious what your sankalpa should be, isn't it? Or if you're only chanting 5 or 8 rounds and you want to get to 16, I mean, that's where your sankalpa is going to be. Yeah. You're not going to, if you're not chanting the 4 regs, it's pointless of making sankalpas to obtain bhava. It's not really relevant. Yeah. All right, let's read a bit more. Let's see. Anyone else like to read? Where did you finish, Mother Chandravala? I mean,
Knowledge means only, not only.
which page is that?
331.
I don't have the book, Prabhu. Would you, if you can, is there a...
yeah, that's a problem, I'm afraid.
Okay.
If you have the book, you can read. If you don't, you can't. I get because it's not online yet. This
okay.
Moody is not online, so I can have a read. So again, a 331 on the beginning, the paragraph is?
Knowledge means not only knowing.
Knowledge means not only knowing the particulars of where we are and where we are going, but equally the process of getting there. Just like if you picture, if you get lost. If you get lost, you have to know where you are before you can get out of being lost. Pointless. Sorry, a bit of a sidetrack here. Mahajuti Maharaj used to tell this story because he used to live in the Rockies of America, down the foothills of the Rockies when he was young. And people would often get lost, and sometimes they would be found dead because they get lost in the Rockies. So regularly, the marshals would come who look after the forest, and they would give presentations at the schools about what to do if you're lost or how not to get lost. So one of the first, the question would be, what's the first thing you should do? Any ideas? What's the first thing you should do if you're lost?
Just look around and see whether you can get help.
Yeah, look, but there's something before that, and you might not get it. There's something before that's to admit that you're hopelessly lost.
Yeah.
You need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lost. I mean, I've done that a few times where my false ego is saying, no, I'm not lost, but I'm completely lost trying to, just as the days before sat nav. You know, if I realize I'm lost, then I can stop. Oh, I'm hopefully lost. Please can you tell me where I am? Anyway,
but Murli Prabhu, it's a male thing. I think females find it easier to say, you know what, the geography doesn't work, the spatial orientation of the brain doesn't fit for directions, and very easy to ask help or ask somebody. I think it's the male spatial navigation that has trouble accepting that they're lost and asking for help.
I have something to share what happened yesterday. I was with a devotee, a very young girl. She said, no, we can find out. We can find out. About 35 minutes, we were going round and round. And I said, please stop and ask someone. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Going on. So it's not a male thing. It's individual.
Well, it's probably mostly male, but sometimes not. But anyway, here, yeah, let's read on. This is the process of sadhana, which is in itself an exacting science. A devotee must study the path that he is embarked upon and be well informed of both its regulative and spontaneous aspects. It is for this reason that Srila Prabhupada emphasized that devotees apply themselves to studying his books. Purity is also relevant to a successful vow. The ability to focus the mind, to comprehend sadhana, and to remain determined are some characteristics that depend on purity of the heart. For example, Srila Prabhupada wrote to a disciple who wanted to chant 64 rounds. Quote, yes, it is very good if you can chant 64 rounds. That is very nice if you can do it. But first of all, we should not be disturbed by any circumstances. If you do become disturbed, then this means you are still deficient in reaching the point. Unquote. Both the blessings and spiritual guidance of superior Vaishnavas are essential in attaining one's goal. As with the example of Jai Vidama's Nityananda Das, a devotee must approach his gurus for an appraisal of his plans and receive blessings and guidance for his spiritual progress. If for some reason neither guru nor Vaishnavas are available, okay, here's interesting point which we're discussing with Chandravalli. If for some reason If for some reason neither Guru nor Vaishnavas are available to provide such assistance, then Krishna reassures sincere devotee that he will, from within, illuminate the path leading to him.
You know, just a quick thing,
Yes.
appraisal. You know, when you're working in material world, you know, every
Appraisal,
year you
yeah.
have appraisals, you know, with your boss, you know. So it's like that. Krishna consciousness is like you need where you are, where your goals are, and a year later, did you get anywhere near your goal, or we set your goals higher, you know? This
Yeah.
appraisal.
Self-appraisal. So self-appraisal. And this is what this whole study is about. You know, the appraisal could say it's another word for Sankalpa. In one sense, where you, well, not exactly, but you appraise where we are or where we are not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Following the consummation of adhikar is the explicit statement of the vow. An important aspect of formulating the determination, short, concise, and clear, are winning traits of a sankalpa. In addition, to avoid the pitfalls of a foggy memory and the distractions of Kali Yuga, it is advisable to write it down. Repeat, write it down. Okay, interesting. Might be, for instance, I'm just thinking of, might be you made determination to read the Srimad Bhagavatam in 1 year. And you know, there's the app that Vaishya Shekhar does, where it tells you how many pages that you need to read to complete the Bhagavatam in 1 year, or the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So good, make that vow, make that sankalpa, you can write it down as well. Saying it should be short and concise, not too long-winded, not too vague, but concise, you know. Repeat, write it down. It is best if sankalpas are just a phrase or sentence. One example is a sadhaka's overarching vow. I desire to obtain bhava. This should be every practitioner's vow. Because there's 3 stages in devotion: sadhana. So everyone's doing sadhana. So what comes next? Bhava. So you should desire it. Then prema, sadhana, bhava, prema. This should be every, Another example is found in the determination of the young gopis of Vrindavan, the Kanyakumaris, whose daily vow was Puryan Nanda Sudapitaha. May the son of King Nanda become my husband. Okay. Actually, someone asked that question to my Guru Maharaj, actually, on a podcast. One lady asked the question, how can I make Krishna my husband?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What did my...
Well, I forget now, but I think he was just trying to bring her down to earth a bit. I think.
Yes, I was thinking.
Bring her down to earth. Trying to find, get her on the ascent, get on the basics first. It's not a wrong desire to have, but you probably will. I know for the gopis, that's what they do. The young Kanyakumaris, these are young girls. Yeah. Thus, for an entire month, the girls carried out their vow and properly worshipped the goddess Bhadrakali, fully absorbing their minds in Krishna and meditating upon the following thought: may the son of King Nanda become my husband. Anyone that can say Krishna did fulfill that vow?
He did.
How did he do it? Can anyone say? There's a particular pastime which exemplifies them becoming just like Krishna's wives.
You know, when Brahma stole the cows, and then everybody became, the boys, Krishna expanded.
Yeah, but this is not, I know, but this is not the Kanyakumaris. That's not how they become Krishna's husband.
They came in front of Krishna with no clothes.
Yes, that's this, when Krishna stole the clothes, Vashrahara, it's just called. He stole the clothes. That's Krishna was fulfilling their desire, that desire in that way, because that especially that's never done unless it's husband and wife. So they felt that relationship with Krishna on that intimate level, like he is, yeah, they completely surrendered themselves in a very pure, wonderful way to Krishna.
And the other one, so Krishna expanded, and then he said to his father, all the boys should get married this year. Isn't that right? And then he married all the boys, all got married to girls, but it was Krishna.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, that's okay. Yeah, that's where he did that.
All the boys get married.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Read a bit more. While a practitioner's desire, I'll just read up to these asterisks on page 333, and someone else would like to read then. While a practitioner's desire is to attain ecstasy, bhava, to attain ecstasy, that vow is not fulfilled in one step, as already stated, but rather is comprised of multiple sankalpas that may span decades, perhaps even lifetimes. Not everyone can attain Krishna's mercy as quickly as the Kamya Kumaris. Srila Prabhupada writes, quote, "It is not possible to go back to Godhead in one life, but in a human form, one should at least understand the goal of life and begin Krishna consciousness." I remember reading this and I had questions about it myself. Because generally we understand Prabhupada said that you can go back in one life. But Prabhupada seemed to indicate actually it may not be so easy as that. Anyway, any comments on that? Any questions?
I think it's your internal mood. You know, it doesn't matter what extent, how much you are doing or what you're doing, but internally, if you doing your duties, but you are really desiring to be back home.
Yeah.
You know, then Krishna, you know, will fulfill your desires. And you can go back. We talked about it, that people have gone back in.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, we actually gave some examples, didn't we? And I think also, if you weigh up the percentage, Prabhupada speaks more about going back in one life. This sentence here, you will not see this repeated. That's why it stood out to me when I came across it. This it is not possible to go back home in one life. So I think Prabhupada's just emphasizing the sincerity and the seriousness that that we should apply ourselves here. It's kind of helping us to remind us of that. It's not a cheap thing, you know? Yeah. And while vows may not be of the same significance, some being bhava aviruddha, while others being bhava sambandha. So that means, if we remember, bhava aviruddha means those things which are favorable in your practice for bhava, and those things which are favorable or unfavorable or neutral as well. Yeah. It is nonetheless useful to be equally consistent in their formulation and in their accomplishment. The same can be said whether vows facilitate in incremental steps or the overarching desire for perfection. A part of articulating sankalpas is to consider which are private and which can be known to others, and then to further consider to whom they are revealed. Not everything should be private and not everything should be disclosed, which requires discrimination. So perhaps that's also an answer to Baba Chandoli's first question about revealing one's mind. Here, there should be some discrimination. As the devotee becomes increasingly advanced, he will become more guarded about both achievements and objectives. Such conduct is wanted in order to guard the attainments of bhakti. In this regard, the Lord advises Shavam sapatji devi devu goyam sam shoshambritam. That which is very confidential is successful if kept secret. From the formulation of Sankalpas, let us move to their incremental development. Right. Any questions on that? If not, we can read on. Yeah, Prabhupada did not. When Prabhupada was asked about his relationship with Krishna, he was very guarded. Actually, my Guru Maharaj makes it very guarded, and he didn't disclose it. Yeah. Let's hope we have that problem.
I remember one story when Jamuna Devi was walking behind Srila Prabhupada, and she couldn't see his footprints, and then she asked, and he said that you will realize it one day.
Yeah, that's quite mysterious, that, isn't it? It's very mysterious because that was in John Lennon's estate, Tittenhurst Park, and it was long grass.
Yeah.
And there was footprints where she was walking, but Prabhupada, there was no footprints. Mystical. All right, let's have someone else read. Someone like to read onwards, 333. Or those who have a book, that's a good point. But some of you don't have. So I'm asking everyone to read, and no one's got the book.
Suniti Priya's got the book. Are you there, Suniti Priya?
She might be doing something else. If not, yeah, you can read again, Mother Chandravali. You have the book.
Yeah, okay. The prime example of following one Sankalpa after the other is Gopkumar. In his search for the Lord of the universe, the young boy went from quest to quest on earth, in heaven, in Vaikuntha, and everywhere in between. Wherever he went for his next voyage, he acquired higher qualification, relevant instructions, and the blessings of superiors. And while he attended the result of each quest, because the result did not match his resolve for Madan Gopal's service, Gopkumar prepared himself for the next step and then the next. The most important factor is successful sankalpas is patience. Once again, Gopkumar is a good example. Just how long his journey to Gokul took is unclear. But considering that he was both Indra and Brahma, as well as a servant of Mahakal and Lord Narayan, his quest not only took a long time, but also took place beyond the purview of time. The boy persevered nonetheless and was ultimately successful. As the Lord once said to the demigods, with patience and peace, everything can be done. But if one is agitated by anger, the goal is not achieved. Along with patience, a devotee must awaken and sustain the willpower that propels him to the goal. Since sadhana is about uncovering our devotional love, it also uncovers the qualities connected with love, like an extraordinary urgency for it. The development and sustenance of this urgency to succeed, willpower, is achieved by connecting one's external awareness with the internal forces, driving firmness of purpose, determination. How to achieve this is best described by Srila Prabhupada in the following letter. But unless the basic determination to become successful, willpower, in Krishna consciousness is there, any type of occupation or any place where you are serving Krishna will similarly become a source of restlessness and troubling of your mind. Therefore, my advice to you is simply this, that you search out in yourself whether that basic determination and faith in our Krishna consciousness program is strong in you. And whether if by going here or going there or doing this or doing that, this determination and faith will be enhanced.
Okay, let's just pause there. Huh? That's quite an amazing letter that Prabhupada wrote. I'm just going to look at reference for that. Year was that number 8. This was in 1972 to Vaikunthanath. But I was thinking as we was hearing this about about determination. That's why it's very important that we are following the regulative principles, because it's to that degree that we're lacking that, then to that degree we're not going to be able to manifest the needed determination to attain success in our spiritual life. And it sounds like this devotee who Prabhupada's writing to is a bit restless. So he's externally, it seems like, let's just read through it. So, but unless the basic determination to become successful is there, any type of occupation or any place where you're serving, Krishna will simply become Krishna will become a source of restlessness and troubling of your mind. Therefore, my advice to you is simply this, that you search out in yourself whether the basic determination and faith in our Krishna conscious program is strong in you. Whether if by going here or going there or doing this or doing that, this determination and faith will be enhanced. So Prabhupada is saying basically it will not be enhanced if that going here and going there, but if we don't have the internal resolution and the determination to actually be Krishna conscious, then we'll always be restless wherever we might be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other comments on that just came to mind as I was reading that or hearing it?
I have like, a question, another question.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, or shall I not ask? Okay.
No, it's too late now. You started a question, so you have to finish it.
Like, say we doing a service in the morning. So you do your service, you come back, and then you kind of, the half a day's kind of gone because you're doing home deities there. And then you kind of struggle with your chanting and reading and that. On the days you are not doing service, it's good. You wake up, you chant your rounds, and everything is going on peaceful. You know, you've done quite a lot in a day. So how do you, like, I'm going through that. Do we do service, carry on services? Do you concentrate on chanting, reading, hearing more, you know?
Yeah, I think I understand your question. It's basically it's like a gap. It's like a hole. It's no like, do you know when you have if you hold water in your hand? We used to do this when I was young. You hold water in your hand and try and keep it in your hand, but it always runs through. So in that practice, like it sounds like you've identified when your concentration and determination for hearing and chanting is less. And that's, for instance, when you've been physically engaged. I guess you might be a bit tired as well. So you come back. So then you can address that. Like each time that happens, for instance, you're going to go and do service and you're going to come back and you want to plug that hole. Plug that where you just kind of, okay, I've done so much service, now I can space out of it. Sometimes that might be needed. But I mean, like I have myself personally, when I've been busy, I've been doing service, then I know what type of reading is going to be best for me and what type of reading is not. So then I'm going to already have in mind what to do. And sometimes even, I haven't done it for a little while actually, but sometimes I might just watch Krishna and Vrindavan. Because I know I'm not going to be, if I've had a festival and I'm completely tired, and I need something very light. I need some light reading. I need some light, or I might find a Krishna thing on YouTube, something like, if it doesn't take me too long. Or I might listen to Prabhupada's memories as well. So it's good you've identified that. You've identified that. So when you come back, you kind of, not exactly space out, might be a stronger word, but then have some type of sadhana that that's not going to take as much concentration, but have something there. You know? So you can just, because the idea is that our devotional service should be like a flow should flow from one thing to the next. It's described just like honey, you know, honey comes out of a jar and it's like unbroken, you know, it's unbroken. So it's good we can just flow into one devotional engagement to the next. And sometimes I've had the experience, and it's quite enlivening actually, when you're just flowing from one engagement to the next. You know, I don't manage to maintain it all the time, so that's good. You know, when you're coming back from a festival or something, then you can be tired, but then you're going to rest. And so have a type of Sankalpa. So that, for instance, that could be like a Sankalpa for you. You've identified that gaps. All right, let me try and plug that. At the same time, we have to be quite balanced as well. I mean, you'll find that also sometimes this sounds strange. I don't know if I'm saying the right thing. But sometimes we need to space out a bit. In the sense that sometimes we need to do a different type of devotional act. I don't mean space out in the material energy, but you know, sometimes we're going to be given a lot of energy and a lot of concentration. Like sometimes I'm preparing for seminars and I'm preparing for a class. I've also Siddharmani Radhika mentions you prepare 6 hours for a class. You know, that's pretty good. You know, so sometimes when I'm studying like that, and then I need a break from it. I may be studying a few hours for the class, and then an hour before the class, I stop studying and I read something else. Because I need it, because I understand my mind and how it works and how long I can go. So I need to. That's what I mean by space out a bit. You have to kind of
Yeah, I find that like if you do something very intense, like chanting extra rounds, and it's very intense, and you're chanting or you're doing some other reading, then your mind is so like, I don't know. Sometimes you have to watch something or do something that's kind of relaxing.
Yeah.
I find it hard to maintain that intensity of focus, determine. Sometimes your mind has to just relax for a little bit, not totally, but in Maya, but just watch something that's, something on YouTube, that's Krishna conscious, more relaxing for the mind rather than intense.
Yeah, I think what you're saying, I think it's there for everyone. We're not, we're conditioned souls. So we don't have aptitude, that aptitude exactly. Also, let's perhaps look at Prabhupada himself. Let's check the time. Prabhupada himself, obviously he was Srila Prabhupada, he was intensely determined in his writing early in the morning, but also Prabhupada would also be quite light-hearted with devotees, would joke with them, He'll have a different mood about them. Then in serious meetings or serious discussions, he'll be very serious. So yeah, but the thing is, there's things we used to do before we took up Krishna consciousness. There's things we used to do to escape or to relax. We don't want to do those same things. That's sometimes what catches. There's one friend of mine, and he was falling prey to, because he was under a lot of pressure in his devotional service. So he was falling prey to what he did before he joined, when there was a lot of pressure, and it wasn't a devotional activity. It was a very non-devotional activity. So we need to make sure we don't go there when we're too tired to do, devotional, because intense activities. We need to do another type of devotional activity.
Yeah, or even like just going to the park is really nice. Like to just go, like Prabhupada used to go for a morning walk.
Yeah.
If you go for a walk in the evening, or you know, go to the park and sit on the bench or something, and you can read or chant still, but it's a nice atmosphere for the mind.
Yeah. So there's one example. Yeah. I'm sure we can. Other example, you may take prashad with a friend, you know, relax a bit.
Yeah.
You know, you may eat a pizza in Govinda's vegetarian restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or have cookies, and you know,
Yeah.
cookies are always good for relaxing.
I felt
Yeah.
when I'm really
Yes.
tired or something, makes, I don't know, I get more energetic when I go to the kitchen. So that is a good
Okay.
place for me to go and make something very small for Krishna. So
Nice.
that,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
once I cook, and then I'm back to normal basically.
Yeah. I'm trying to think how we got there. We're speaking about Yeah, that was it. Speaking about determination. And then I read this letter from Prabhupada.
Mother Chandravali's question.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Chandramohan was asking a question. Sometimes you. Yeah. Let me just. Okay. Let's read. It's 7 o'clock. Let's just go over a couple of minutes, sir, because we started a bit later. Um, are you still there, Mother Chandravali? You can just carry on reading. Perhaps we'll go 3 or 4 minutes over.
Where was I? Oh,
Page,
we led letter.
yeah.
Okay, right. The process of awakening willpower is further described in the Srimad Bhagavatam in connection with the rousing of the universal form. To summarize, as a devotee becomes increasingly Krishna conscious, the characteristic of the mind, namely thinking, feeling, and willing, are also increasingly manifest in his strength and purity. Connected to willpower is determination. The former fuels the later, and determination is the key to successful sankalpas. However, determination must be strong to succeed, and this strength of purpose is attained when a devotee is faithful to the regulative principles of sadhana bhakti. Moreover, Krishna explains that a devotee must be free of all misgiving and have a clear conception of who he is. The first and foremost misgiving is to identify with the body. To the degree that a devotee engages in and has a desire for sense gratification, to that degree he is in bodily consciousness. And if one identifies with the body, how then can he identify as Krishna's eternal servant? The state free of all delusion, the state in which determination is strong. Therefore, one's misgivings are reduced to ashes and one is empowered with the right self-conception when one immerses oneself in the fire of transcendental knowledge that burns within Srimad Bhagavatam and other literatures teaching the science of Bhakti Yoga. Without a doubt, there will be obstacles on the path to perfection. We are living in a material world. It is Kali Yuga, and our aspiration is lofty, to say the least. Therefore, a devotee should expect difficulties, even reverses in his effort. It will not be an easy ride, but so long as we remain determined in service to Lord Krishna, assures us that in the service to the Lord, Krishna assures us that we will be victorious in our quest. My dear Uddhav, if my devotee has not fully conquered his senses, he may be harassed by material desires, but because of his unflinching devotion for me, he will not be defeated by sense gratification. One may question, how can a tiny jiva in this age overcome the results of past sinful acts and allurement of the material energy? Krishna's answer can be paraphrased thus. It will not be possible by one's own effort, but if by the ropes of devotional service one is connected to me, whose determination is infallible and whose every purpose is fulfilled. One's own determination and purpose becomes equally successful.
Okay, should we pause
Yeah.
for today? Let's pause there for today. Okay, so thank you for everyone being determined, and you all joined us despite my spacing out in the beginning. You was all determined. You didn't give up, and we gave you the right connection. So thank you for joining us, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. May you dream of Krishna. And tomorrow we're having more questions to the Bhakti Chintamani. So please do join us.
And the link for it, please.
Yeah, I'll send the link. I shall send it at 1 a.m. in the morning. Okay?
Yeah, 1 a.m. in the morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna.